to the Canada-U.S. trade war. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett says trade talks are continuing this week with Canada. This comes as Prime Minister Mark Carney gets set to meet with his cabinet tomorrow to discuss the latest Trump tariff threat. The Prime Minister's office says Carney will speak with his inner circle about the negotiations. President Trump sent a letter to Carney Thursday warning that he will raise taxes on many imported goods from Canada to 35% starting August the 1st. Carney said his government will work to secure a trade deal by that date. Joining me now to discuss is Julian Karaguesian, former special advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Good morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Marcia.
So let's begin with where we are with Canada and the U.S. We have seen Trump publicly praise Mark Carney, say glowing things about him. Yet here we are back in, it seems, another tense phase of negotiations. What do you make of Trump's new threats on Canada and where talks go from here?
Well, I think it complicates the negotiations, which are now with a deadline of August 1st. The problem is not only that there's been a near complete weaponization of trade coming from the Trump administration, but the actual instrument of weaponization isn't just the tariffs themselves, but it's the actual uncertainty about tariffs and trade policy. And uncertainty is toxic for trade, it's toxic for business. And so where to go from here? What I'm gathering, what I think what's going on behind the scenes is that Prime Minister Carney and his circle are trying to figure out what our bottom lines are, what we're willing to concede, and where we have to draw the line if there's continual demands for concessions. We've already given in on the digital services tax, but if there's continued demands for concessions using these very heavy pressure tactics, and also just the tariffs themselves. We already face a 10% base tariff. We face a 25% tariff on automobiles, 50% on steel and aluminum, copper 50%. Yeah. So it's at some point, I think we're sitting down and thinking, or they are behind the scenes, what can we give away to protect a trade agreement, and what won't we give away?
And when it comes to the negotiations and even reaching an agreement, how difficult is it to have faith in that? I mean, Trump again over the weekend was complaining about the flow of fentanyl from Canada into the U.S. He was also complaining about the dairy agreement, dairy and eggs. So, I mean, when you don't have a reliable partner, it seems, at the table, what are you watching for when it comes to reaching some sort of a deal?
Well, I think that's the key question, is what deal will be credible, will be sustainable, given the extreme uncertainty that's coming out of the Trump White House. And I think it's an intentional uncertainty to throw off trading partners, in this case, allies. There's actually more certainty with the U.S.'s adversaries like China. They're in the midst of finalizing a trade agreement and finalizing a deal on critical minerals. And with the allied countries, we continue to face this up and down, back and forth tariff threat. So in the immediate term, we don't have so many cards. We just have to figure out, I think, where we draw the line and where we have to say to ourselves, what's the value of getting an agreement which may not be secure, and we have to give in all these concessions. So again, we've seen the digital services tax. Now they're coming after supply management. And then there's culture and our news and ownership in the news and on television, radio. And then there's also banking and the wider financial sector. So I think we have to think about what we're willing to concede and where we're willing to say, sorry, we have to stay a sovereign country, and we cannot give up on those things.
So my final question then to you tomorrow is, or today rather, is where does Canada turn to next? Can bridges be built with countries like India? What about the possibility of a broader trade deal with the EU? Where does China fit in? Your thoughts on that?
I think it'll be that the low-hanging fruit is the EU in the sense of getting a deal. But these are saturated, high-income markets. I think the biggest gains for us in terms of trade diversification and diversifying away from the United States, which is clearly turning inward, is to look at the Indo-Pacific region for sure. 5 out of every 8 people in the world live there. It's the most dynamic region in the world economically. And not only India, but also the People's Republic of China, Japan, Korea. We have immense opportunities to expand our trade with these countries. And also, Marcy, I think we need a national economic strategy, a plan that goes beyond nation building projects and having one internal economy. I think we may need to move to a more emergency footing to protect our prosperity.
Julian Karaguesian is a former special advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Again, appreciate your time with us. Good to see you again this morning.